Welcome back to our channel. Today we're going to talk about a topic that doesn't get as much attention as it should. Questions you should not ask on a first date. You've probably seen dozens of articles and videos telling you what questions to ask on a first date. Questions like, what do you do for fun? Or what's your favorite type of music? And while those questions are important to get to know someone, it's just as important to know what not to ask. Now, before we dive in, let's be clear. These questions aren't necessarily bad, but they're just not appropriate for a first date. You want to make sure you're building a connection and having a good time, not making your date feel uncomfortable or judged. So without further ado, here are 10 questions you should not ask on a first date. Question number 1. How much money do you make? Now, this might seem like a harmless question, but it can come across as rude. Your date might even feel like you're only interested in their financial status rather than who they are as a person. We know that money is an important topic in any relationship, but there are some things that are just better left unsaid, especially on a first date. Trust me, you don't want to come across as a gold digger on your first date. Plus, talking about money can be awkward and uncomfortable, and you don't want to ruin the mood by bringing up a touchy subject. Asking someone how much money they make can actually be counterproductive. It can create an imbalance in the relationship where one person feels like they have more power because they make more money. This can lead to resentment and tension down the line, which is the last thing you want in a relationship. In conclusion, asking someone how much money they make is rude, unnecessary, and creates an imbalance in the relationship. Instead, focus on getting to know the person and having a good time. And who knows, if things work out, maybe you can talk about finances and money down the line. But for now, just enjoy the date. Question number 2. How many partners have you had? This is a question that should be saved for a later conversation, when you've established trust and openness. Asking it on a first date can come off as intrusive or even judgmental. Asking someone about their sexual history or their past relationships on a first date is just plain inappropriate. It's like saying, hey, nice to meet you. I'm just wondering how much action have you had before me? Not only is it intrusive, but it can be also disrespectful and make the other person feel uncomfortable. Question number 3. Do you want to have children? Now, this is a perfectly valid question, but it can be too forward for a first date. It puts pressure on your date to reveal their long-term goals before they are ready to. Question number 4. What are your political or religious beliefs? While these are important topics to discuss eventually, they're best saved for later. Bringing them up too early can lead to a heated or uncomfortable conversation, which is not what you want on a first date. These topics are highly personal and emotional. People often hold their beliefs close to their hearts, and discussing them can be sensitive and divisive. You don't want to ruin the mood of the date by delving into topics that may cause arguments or offense. Asking about political or religious beliefs can create an us versus them mentality when you're trying to figure out if the person is one of us or one of them. This can lead to a lack of empathy and understanding, which is the opposite of what you want in a relationship. Question number 5. Have you ever been arrested or convicted of a crime? This is another question that should be saved for a later conversation. Bringing it up too early can come off as judgmental. It can create an uncomfortable atmosphere and come off as judgmental and create an imbalance in the relationship. Instead, focus on getting to know the person as a whole, their interests and their passions. You can always talk about more sensitive topic later down the line. For now, just enjoy the date. Now, don't get me wrong. You have to do your due diligence before going out with somebody you do not know. This is assuming that you've done your research on this person and made sure that they're actually safe to date. Question number 6. What do your exes think of you? It's inappropriate and come off as jealous and insecure. We know that the past relationships can be an important part of someone's life, but there are some questions that are better left unasked. Asking someone about their exes on a first date can be uncomfortable and invasive. It can make the other person feel like they're being judged or evaluated based on their past relationship. Question number 7. How much do you weigh? This is a question that should never be asked, period. It's rude, insensitive, and can trigger body image issues. Question number 8. Why did your last relationship end? This is a question that can bring negative emotions and memories. It's best to focus on the present and the future rather than the past. Asking someone about why their last relationship ended on a first date is not a good idea. It can create an uncomfortable atmosphere, bring up negative emotions, and create an awkward power dynamic. Instead, focus on getting to know the person as they are now, their interests, and their passions. You can always talk more about personal topics down the line if the relationship progresses. For now, just enjoy the date. Question number 9. Do you have any mental health issues? While it's important to be open about mental health, this topic is extremely private. Asking someone about their mental health on a first date is very intrusive. It can make the person feel like they're being judged or evaluated based on their mental health status. Mental health issues can be a sensitive topic for many people. Some may not want to disclose their mental health status to someone they've just met, while others may not feel comfortable discussing it in a dating context. Question can be perceived as insensitive and stigmatizing. Mental health is a personal matter, and it's not something you should just ask about on the first date. And finally, the 10th question not to ask is, what's your credit score? This question can come off as intrusive and make your date feel uncomfortable. It's not something you should bring up on the first date. So there you have it, folks. 10 questions you shouldn't ask on a first date. Remember, first dates are all about getting to know each other and having fun. So focus on lighter topics and don't be afraid to be yourself. And if you happen to slip up and ask one of these questions, don't worry. Just apologize and move on. After all, nobody's perfect. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.